Hey everybody, this is the Longhorn Confidential for Tuesday, August 27th. I'm Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman. As always, joined by Cedric Golden, joined by Thomas Jones. How are y'all doing? As we record this podcast, we are 2 days away from the Taco Shack Bowl here in Austin, where the McCallum Knights will face the Anderson Trojans in the kickoff to the Austin area football scene. We are 3 days away from the first Friday Night Lights across the state. And we are 4 days away from the kickoff of the Texas football season. Colorado State will be in town on Saturday afternoon over at Royal Memorial Stadium. If you're watching at home, it's on ESPN. If you're watching at the stadium, drink water. It's gonna be a little thirsty over there, but we're gonna be
That's
in
not
front.
all they're going to be drinking, Daniel.
Yes, sir. But when that game kicks off, 243 days will have passed since Texas walked off the field in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl after making their first ever appearance in the college football playoffs. Although that season didn't end as Texas fans wanted it to, there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hope going into this season. Texas ranked fourth in the AP preseason poll, fourth in the coaches poll, second in the SEC preseason poll, even though Texas just moved in that conference. So first up is Colorado State. 5-7 the Rams were last year, 32.5 point underdogs on Saturday. So I don't think I'm going to ask anyone to pick a Colorado State upset, even though Florida State knows what can happen if you're caught napping. But said, we'll start with you. For this Texas team, what does a successful season opener look like on Saturday?
Three things. You blow them out. That's number one. You show college football that the Longhorns are worth that lofty preseason ranking. Number two, Quinn Ewers has to look every bit the part of a Heisman Trophy candidate. Because with the games they've got coming up, this is the one where he can really show his stuff. And I think that Colorado State is tailor made for him defensively behind that great offensive line. So that's number two. Along with two, that's two. A two B is get Arch Manning some run. He's going to need some run because Quinn Ewers hasn't played a full season of football since the 10th grade. So the odds are he might get hurt this year.
True.
And you don't want to get Garrett Gilbert and not in a big game when your backup's not ready. So get Arch some run. And number three, most important, um, don't get anybody else hurt.
Yeah.
They can't lose another running back. They don't need to lose any more frontline guys. It's so our season hasn't started and they're down two running backs. So they need to stay healthy and blow them out. Get Quinn big numbers, arch some run, stay healthy. Those are my three.
TJ?
Yeah, I'd say it's absolutely right, especially with the health. You know, you're going to get a lot of guys playing. They'll cover. They're going to cover that spread,
Oh, give
but
me a score, TJ. What's up? Give me a score if there's
I don't.
covering
They'll cover.
32.
Let's say 49-10. Let's say that. What they need to do now, I disagree with said here. I don't think Quinn needs to have a big game. I think he needs to have an efficient game with about 150 yards passing, and that running game needs to show that it can move the ball, get about 200, 250 yards rushing. Then
Oh,
that'll
keep
ease a
dreaming on
lot
that
of
one.
concerns. It leaves a lot of
250.
concerns about CJ Baxter being out, about Christian Clark being out. And it'll show that, you know what, we're more than just, one guy or two. We can plug anyone back there, get behind that offensive line, run the ball. I want to see a good running game, and I want to see him stop the pass. Because as we'll talk about in a minute, Colorado State has a weapon downfield, a big time weapon, one of the best receivers UT will play this year. And we'll see if they can slow down Torrey Horton.
Look, if Texas wants to do what Texas says it wants to do, which is make a deep playoff run, that's 15, 16 games in this football season. They are going to need to have depth. And this is a perfect game to test that depth, especially before Michigan next week. And then you have two more kind of games, UTSA and ULM, where you can get a lot of players to play. And let's not forget the fact that it's going to be in like the 90s on maybe the hundreds. I don't know what the exact weather report is on Saturday. So get a lot of guys playing. Don't get injured and just give some of those second, third string guys some reps so they can contribute down the road, whether it's they need to contribute because of injuries or because Texas wants to throw, six, seven receivers out there in a rotation or multiple running backs. Just get some feet wet, Don't get too hurt. Quinn does not need to be playing in the second half. We don't need Quinn throwing for 400 yards against Colorado State to contend for a Heisman trophy. Like his Heisman moment is going to come next week or against Georgia or in the SEC championship game if he's going to win the Heisman trophy. It's not going to happen in week 1 against the Rams. So get a lot of guys reps, get out without any injuries, although you can't really plan for no injuries, but just get a lot of players playing time and start to establish that depth you will need throughout the season as you have to go through an SEC schedule and then go through a playoff schedule because it's going to be a long way and you're going to need a lot of bodies. But as Thomas alluded to, the running game is going to be probably the biggest question going this season because of the injuries and trying to replace Jonathan Brooks, who is now with the Carolina Panthers. So we're just going to toss it out there. TJ, will let you go first. Who leads Texas in rushing on Saturday? We know it won't be CJ Baxter or Christian Clark, but who leads the team in rushing on Saturday?
I'm telling you, I mean, Jaden Blue's gonna have a great year. You know, he is the starter. I am all over this freshman, Jared Gibson. I think he's one of these 205-pound guys who's really good running inside, kind of like a little Emmitt Smith type of guy. I think Gibson leads them in rushing Saturday because I think we'll get the most carries. I think Blue will have a big first half and then probably rest up. I say Gibson tops 100 yards Saturday.
Said your guess is 100 yards for the freshman too big of a bet for TJ to be making?
He's going to get about 120.
Ooh,
And the reason I say it is you get out ahead of these guys and it's 35-7. Why is Jaden Blue still in there?
exactly.
Knowing the depth problems. You can get the freshmen some run. I don't know that Velton Gardner's going to play. I don't even know if he's in town yet. I don't know. He might be in class. I don't know. Freshman's going to get a lot of run. Ryan Niblett's going to get a couple niblets at the ball. He's going to get a couple carries. So, like you guys said, and Daniel especially, they need depth. And it's a thin position, so they need to get those guys totes. And we know what Jadon Blue can do. And Jadon Blue's going to be asked to do a lot more against Michigan than he will be against the CSU Rams. So get him 10 or 11 carries, get him out of there, and let the freshman cook.
I'm just going to throw this out there for either you two to answer or maybe someone at home, but who is the only Texas freshman to run for 100 yards in their debut game?
I think it was Jamal Charles.
Sean Mitchell.
That is correct. Jamal ran for 135 against Louisiana Lafayette back in 2005.
It pays to be old. Sometimes it pays to be old. I remember, yeah, because he just like we're talking about. Jamal, they still had the starter in Selvin Young, and then they had Romance Taylor. But that game was so out of hand that they let Jamal Charles carry the ball for most of the second half, and he did not disappoint. So yeah, it'd be great if the young freshman this coming weekend can do something similar. That would bode well for Sark and company.
The reasoning for Jarek sounds solid to me. I think that's a good bet to place, but I'm gonna go with Trey Wesner just to be a contrarian, and I think it's kind of for the same reason.
Contrarian Quintravian.
But I think
Right.
I think for the same reasons, we know what Jaden Blue is. I don't think they need to give him 20 carries tomorrow or on Saturday. He probably plays a bunch in the first half and chills on the sideline in the second half. And I think Trey gets some run too, so they can get his feet more wet. I think he has 12 career carries on the college level, so they're going to need to work him and Jarek in, and maybe Trey busts a couple down the sideline, and that's how he edges Jarek in that category. In honor of the Taco Shack Bowl, let's just get Colin Page a couple of carries, and
Anderson Trojan.
we've heard a lot of things about him
Trojan man.
during fall camp. Maybe not that exact song, but speaking of Colorado State, who is one Ram we should know? Who is one Ram that's on the scouting report? There's one very obvious name, so we're going to start off with him. Said you can introduce us to Mr. Torrey Horton.
Torrey Horton's got NFL ability, and he's one of those guys where the quarterback, Nicolosi, just throws him open. He can be in press coverage, and they are confident that he will go up and get a 50-50 ball. I mean, listen to these stats, guys. Over the last 2 seasons, he has caught 167 passes for 2,267 yards and 16 touchdown catches.
In the
That's a lot.
college game.
That's a lot over the last 2 seasons. And he's also averaging over 14 yards a punt return. So Sark mentioned, well, they're concerned about him in the return game as well. Now, if Colorado State can't stop him, Texas won't be punting much. But on the occasion that they do, he's a guy that they're going to have to watch. Now, Jade Barron seemed to be amped up at the prospect of going head up with Torrey Holton, but if PK's smart, he ain't putting no cornerbacks on an island against that guy. You're going to have some rolled over safeties. You're going to have to let somebody else in that air raid offense beat you.
I'll just jump in here since I'm going to pick a receiver too. It's not Torrey, but Amari Winfield. Is there going to be one of their other two starting wide receivers? He was actually committed to Texas at one point during the 2022 recruiting cycle, ended up decommitting, signing with Baylor, playing at Baylor for 2 years, played sparingly, didn't have any outstanding stats, but he did transfer to Colorado State. He's part of the rotation. And if there's a lot of focus on Torrey, that opens up some rooms for Amari. And if he was good enough for Texas at one point, he's a talent. This is a 4-star kid who just hasn't been able to get it together. Maybe this is his breakout party. I'm sure he's going to be very determined. He's a Texas kid, so coming home, going to school that he thought he was going to at one point go to. So I would say look out for receiver number 2, especially if Torrey Horton's going to be demanding so much attention. Someone else is going to stand up. Well, the Colorado State team we know is going to throw the ball, even if Texas is throwing 4 guys and their number 1 receiver. They're still going to throw it 40 times this weekend. So I say look out for receiver number 2. Thomas, who's your pick?
I like both those picks. Look, they got a kid named Jacob Gardner. I mean, a kid. He's a graduate student. He's a starting center for Colorado State. This guy, in his time at Nevada before Colorado State and at Colorado State, has started all 33 games in his career. He was a tackle at Nevada. He's a center now for Colorado State. He's very good. And we're going to find out about Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins. If they really are those replacements for T. Sweat and Byron Murphy in the middle, they're going to get tested Saturday. Gardner's a good player. So these new defensive tackles are going to really open the season with a real true test. I'm going to be watching the trenches on Saturday.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top, it will have been 243 days since our last football game. I'm not counting the spring game, but the last time we got to be in a press box, do all the football covering stuff. As journalists and doing what we do, what are you looking forward to the most on Saturday? Is it the game? Is it the pomp and circumstance? Is it the taco deli up in the press box? What exactly are you looking forward to the most on Saturday?
You know what I like? I like I hate that walk. I just hate that walk from the parking lot because I'm old and I got bad knees. It was hard. It was tough keeping up with Daniel on the way out of the presser on Monday. I like Bevo Boulevard. I like the energy on Bevo Boulevard. I like wall-to-wall people, and we see some of our radio friends getting it done in their little kiosks, and then invariably you get stopped by a fan or two, and they're excited, and they lie and say they love reading you, and I lie by saying I appreciate it because I'm not sure that they do read us, but the fact that they stop to ask is really cool. And so I like seeing the excitement of the fans before you walk into the stadium. That is my favorite part, followed by the game, of course.
TJ, what are you looking forward to as we get another football season underway?
Yeah, the energy on campus is something unique for a season opener. Yeah, I've been around campus for a long time, and that opening game is always fun. But really, from a football perspective, when you're playing a team like Colorado State that you're favored by 4.5 touchdowns to beat, I like seeing some of those true freshmen get some run and get some legitimate snaps and get a chance to show their stuff, because they may not get that much playing time in the SEC this year. So this first game, they're really going to have a chance to shine in some limited time. So I'm looking forward to watching some of the thing.
Going back to Sed's point about Beaver Boulevard, you got to tip your cap to CDC, Drew Martin, that whole crew, just for bringing the buzz back. I mean, I joined this beat in 2016, and some of those games, you could hear a pin drop, even if Texas was winning. It just wasn't exciting. There wasn't a buzz, but it helps that the team's good, but also just the atmosphere and just what, this is again, we're not going to see a drone show because it's an afternoon game, but just what they've made these home games as they head into the SEC, where we know football is king in those small towns. Austin and DKR is definitely going to be going toe to toe with some of those SEC stadiums. So that's going to be fun to see. But our little press corps, I know people love it when media people are sparring on Twitter and stuff like that, but like our press corps for the most part is a nice little community. And I like being around my people and my friends who, we're all chasing the same stories and we're all writing game stories. And the press box is just a fun place to be on game day. It's going to be a blowout, so chances are Seth's going to be cracking some jokes starting in the third quarter, and there's going to be gossip going on, and people are going to be trying to outdo each other with whatever stories we're writing. The homie Edley, she's going to be bringing baked goods to the press box from home, so that's going
The
to
best. He's the best.
make a couple stops at wherever she stashes those. And the press box is the fun place to be in on game day, and I really enjoy that, and I've missed it, and it'll be fun to be. We're not going to be quite like our late friend Randy Riggs and get there 3 hours ahead of time, but from the moment we step in, it's going to be fun the moment we leave. So I'm looking forward to that on Saturday. So
There's some good people up there, especially, Houston Chronicle has this new columnist, Kirk something or other. That
He's
guy's
not new.
that
He's
guy's
old.
kind of a jerk,
He's
but
old.
other
He's
than
not
him,
new. He is old. Stop it.
it will be a little weird. The Chronicle usually sits on the opposite side of the press box from us. So we'll be interested to see if they make Kirk sit over there, and he'll
Oh,
be away from
yeah,
us
he's gone. We'll
time
never see him again, Daniel.
in
We'll never see
decades.
him again.
But that's going
Who's
to do
going
it
to bring
for
me
us.
cookies?
We'll have him do the cookie run. But that's gonna be it for us today. Statesman.com throughout the week as we get you ready for the Colorado State game. We have lots of content, lots of videos. We're gonna have another podcast. The On Second Thought podcast is back. It'll be back on Thursday in this new rebranded form. So we'll see what Sed has up his sleeves, but you can check all
That's
that.
what I'm going to have two of the greatest sports writers in the history of the Texas football beat. Oh no, I forgot they canceled out. I'm going to have Danny and Thomas on tomorrow, and we'll we'll chop it up. We're going to talk. I mean, today was about the Colorado State game, but we're going to talk about the season. We're going to look at the schedule, and we're going to see what games scare the Longhorns the most. Where are the blowouts, and then we'll whatever else pops in our head, we'll talk about, because that's what we do at the Austin American-Statesman, on Longhorn Confidential, and on Second Thought.
Yeah, statesman.com for all that. I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Check out the work by our high school guys, Rick Cantu and Colby Gordon. They're doing their
Bringing
thing.
it.
If
Bringing
you're an
it.
Austin area high school fan, be sure to check out all that stuff starting on Thursday with the Taco Shack Bowl. Go Knights. But that's going to do it for us.
How many plugs? How many plugs are we going to do
I'll
today?
give them 60 because I don't know if we're going to be having a great season over there on
more
the
plugs and points.
Sunshine Drive. But
Let's go Knights. Let's go Knights.
we appreciate you all for tuning in, whether you listen to us, wherever you get your podcast, or watching us on YouTube or statesman.com. But we'll see you next week. Deuces, enjoy the Colorado State game.